Hi there. I'm tremendously pleased to announce the forthcoming publication of my latest book, The Two Swords of Christ, 5 Centuries of War Between Islam and the Warrior Monks of Christendom. Yes, it's been quite the journey, as I spent the better part of a year researching and writing this book. As the title indicates, it's a pure and very raw history of the battles and conflicts between the Christian military orders and the forces of Islam. And as with my other histories, it is heavily based on primary contemporary sources, both Christian and Muslim, meaning you're going to get the real story, not the politically correct version found in most modern-day history books. You know, evil, greedy Christians versus noble, magnanimous Muslims. While there were other lesser military orders, the book primarily deals with the two that spearheaded the defense of Christendom against Islam during and well after the Crusades, the Templars and the Hospitallers. These knights were unique and worthy of remembrance in that they were and remain the chief paragons of muscular Christianity, an unapologetically masculine form of the faith that dominated much of the pre-modern era. Embodying a fierce, sacred resolve, these men were neither mere soldiers nor cloistered monks. They were both holy warriors, men who believed that to defend the faith was to serve God. Indeed, their entire purpose and reason for existence was, modern-day Christians may be surprised to learn, rooted in Scripture, beginning with the biblical concept of just war. They fought not for conquest, but to protect the innocent, uphold the sacred, and defend Christian civilization. This comes out repeatedly in their history and in the book. If many modern-day Christians believe their faith begins and ends with being passive and non-confrontational, turning the other cheek, never judging, and being tolerant of everything, including unadulterated evil, these men took into account and tried to act on all of Christ's words. Take his talk of swords, for instance. Christ tells his disciples that he who has no sword, let him sell his garment and buy one. They respond, Lord, look, here are 2 swords. Christ concludes, it is enough. Luke 22:36-38. Most modern-day Christians have allegorized this verse into absolute meaninglessness, to their own detriment. Not so for many pre-modern and especially medieval Christians. That verse's meaning was clear enough. Christians are to fight 2 sorts of evils with 2 sorts of swords, a spiritual sword against spiritual enemies, and a physical sword against physical enemies. Taken together, these 2 swords were and are enough, as Christ said. Hence the title of this book, The Two Swords of Christ. Not only is this title meant to allude to the aforementioned verse and how Christians understood it, it has another more symbolic meaning. Put differently, it is precisely because the Templars and the Hospitallers believed in that in many ways they became the 2 swords of Christ. Incidentally, even the surreal feats of heroism performed by these men were rooted in Scripture. Over and over, verses that sang of how 1 man could chase 1,000 and 2 put 10,000 to flight, Deuteronomy 32:30, inspired and actuated these men to no end. Despite all this, or perhaps precisely because of it, the West, both secular and Christian, has done everything either to forget or demonize these men, especially the Templars, who would be horrified and utterly disgusted to see how they are widely depicted today, or to learn that several depraved occultist groups claim a connection to them. It is for all these reasons and more that I decided to make their true story known, especially to those Christians who insist that faith and force are always and forever antithetical to one another. The example of these knights proves otherwise, hearkening back as it does to a time of moral clarity, conviction, and courage. Okay, you can and should read the book's description on Amazon and wherever fine books are sold, but let me read to you just one portion, an actual warning that comes at the very end. Warning, brimming with epic battles, stunning heroism, and self-sacrificial martyrdom against the savage hordes of Islam, The Two Swords of Christ, the 3rd installment of Ibrahim's trilogy, following Sword and Scimitar and Defenders of the West, stands as his fiercest and most violent narrative to date. This warning is true and was actually added on my recommendation. If you've read Sword and Scimitar and or Defenders of the West, you're probably already aware of the violence that typified the clash between Islam and Christendom. This book takes it to a whole other level. Let's put it this way, there's a reason the magnanimous Saladin ordered the ritual decapitation of hundreds of knights of the temple and the hospital following the Battle of Hattin. No one stood against his jihad, shedding so much Muslim blood as did they. So as you can imagine, the clashes and confrontations between these holy warriors and the minions of Allah were especially savage and fierce. If you're interested, the book, which comes out in the fall, can be pre-ordered now. Amazon link in description. Although it's currently being described as 352 pages, that number is actually based on my previous two books, Sword and Scimitar and Defenders of the West, which rather ironically, and as I just learned today, are both exactly 352 pages. Based on this book's word count, I expect it to be around 400 to 500 pages. Yeah, I kind of went overboard. It will also have pictures. If you know of any good ones of the Templars or Hospitallers, etc., feel free to suggest them here in the comments, as I'm currently in the process of finalizing these. Okay, there it is. Hope you like it. I'm especially sure all you Deus Vult guys are going to love it. Right up your alley. Bye.